Hi everybody, my name is Phil Casals. I'm the editor at the Santa Fe New Mexican. Tonight we are hosting a mayoral forum for the citizens of Santa Fe as we get closer to the November 2nd election. Tonight, of course, our candidates are Alan Weber, Alexis Martinez Johnson, and Joanne V. Hill Koppler. We are hosting this event in conjunction with the League of Women Voters, and I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the League, not only for what they've done for this event, but for all the things that they do for the citizens of Santa Fe to make sure that we have accurate and great information from all our candidates in all our races. Of course, the mayoral election is not the only election that will be going on in November, and we hope that you'll take the time to really background yourself on all our elections. I want to thank everybody from the League. I'd also like to thank our digital enterprise team for making this happen. That's Henry Lopez and Matt Dahlside. Without them, this could not happen. We hope you enjoy tonight's event. We are looking forward to having a great forum and debate, and you'll be able to look at this at santafenewmexican.com as you go, or catch it later if you have to leave early on. I hope you stay for the whole thing. Thanks. Good luck to you tonight, candidates, and also get off the stage.
Good evening, candidates and audience members, and thank you for attending the League of Women Voters of Santa Fe County's Candidate Forum for Mayor of Santa Fe. I'm Hannah Burling, and I'll be the moderator for this evening. On behalf of the League of Women Voters, I want to express our gratitude to the Santa Fe New Mexican for broadcasting our candidate forums this year as a service to the community. The New Mexican's no-strings-attached support over the years has allowed us to provide nonpartisan, authoritative election information to Santa Fe County voters by publishing our voter guide and now by live streaming our candidate forums. I'll start by introducing the candidates for tonight's forum again. Alan Weber, Alexis Martinez Johnson, and Joanne V. Hill Koppler. The candidates have all agreed to follow the League protocols for candidate forums, including respecting the time limits for their responses and practicing civil discourse even when they disagree about the issues. We'll begin with 2-minute opening statements from the candidates and then ask them a series of questions submitted by you, the audience. The candidates will answer the questions in rotating order, as many questions as we have time for. Finally, we'll conclude with 2-minute closing statements from the candidates in reverse order from their opening statements. If you haven't already submitted your questions, you can email them to lwvsfc@gmail.com now or at any time during the forum. The questions we asked tonight have been selected by our screening panel to focus on the issues that seem to generate the most interest. Multiple questions on the same topic have been consolidated, and lengthy questions have been edited down to 1 or 2 sentences. Questions that were directed to one specific candidate or those that contained a personal attack have been eliminated. The candidates will have a limit of 2 minutes or less for their answers, and I will announce that limit as I read the question. We have made a change in our forum protocols for this mayoral forum only. We don't ever allow the candidates to debate or attack the other candidates during the forum. But our protocols do allow us to offer the candidates a chance to clarify or correct something that was said during the responses if they want to. So after each round of questions, we'll invite brief follow-up responses. To take us up on the offer, just raise your hand and you will have up to 30 seconds to respond, once per question. Okay. Our timekeeper, Kelly Davis, is sitting right here where you all can see her. When a candidate has 30 seconds left, she'll hold up a yellow warning sign, and when the candidate's time is up, she'll hold up a red stop sign. At that point, we ask that you wind up your response immediately. If not, I'll interrupt out of fairness to all. We'll begin now with 2-minute opening statements by the candidates in ballot order. First, we'll hear from Alan Weber.
Thank you, and thank you to the League, thank you to the New Mexican, thank you most of all to everyone watching and listening tonight. This is a very, very important evening for all of us as we talk about the future of Santa Fe. I'd like to begin by talking about 4 projects, 4 accomplishments that individually are significant for our community. Taken together, they tell a very compelling story about the values of my administration, the values that I will guide and lead in the 4 years ahead. First, the Southside Teen Center. When I became mayor, the Southside Teen Center had been talked about for 10 years. In my first budget, I put $1 million toward building that facility. Last week, we broke ground on the Southside Teen Center, a commitment to the young people of Santa Fe, not just a building, but a commitment to their future, to the fact that we believe in them, we believe they matter. Second, we put $6 million into the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, the first time that that trust fund has ever been fully funded. That money goes to help people who seriously need help. It helps pay the rent, it helps with mortgage assistance, it helps fix up homes so people don't end up having to leave their homes because they can't put a new roof, a new floor, a new heating facility into their existing home. Third, the Santa Fe Green New Deal. This is a commitment to pull together all of the sustainable efforts of your government to make sure that we have a sustainable future, 100% renewables by 2040, and last, the Mayors for a Guaranteed Income, a $500,000 commitment to 100 families to go to the community college and help them make it through school, pay the rent, and take care of their families. These are projects that talk about equity, inclusivity, fairness, opportunity, and the values of Santa Fe. That's the accomplishments of the last 4 years. Those are the values of the next 4 years. Thank you.
Next is Alexis Martinez Johnson.
Thank you. Muchas gracias. My name is Alexis Martinez Johnson, and I will be second on your ballot. Please rank me in the 1 or 2 position. Early voting starts today. You can see my sticker here that I went out to vote. So I encourage all of you, please get out early and do it in a safe manner. I'm from New Mexico. I was born and raised, but that doesn't qualify me to be mayor. What qualifies me is my experience as a steward, as an environmental steward, as well as a cultural steward. My lived experience here in New Mexico creates a situation where I'm going to be someone who can reconcile the community, who can provide much needed healing. And more than that, I'm an environmental engineering professional. I bring the heart and soul of New Mexico, as well as new technology and innovation that I've used in the private sector. My expertise involves project management, specifically in city utilities, in regard to traffic control engineering to make sure our streets are safe. I also am very much involved in wastewater management to make sure that our water source is clean going into the future. In addition to that, I make sure that our air quality is superb, as well as our land is nice and clean. I'd like to see sustainability in Santa Fe continue and to mix the old heart with the new technologies that we have in environmental engineering. So I bring not only experience and project management, but I bring the tool set we need to make this city go forward in regard to city management. My entire platform revolves around safety, making sure we're safe from COVID and businesses are kept open, making sure that you're safe in your own person and that we have a reduction in crime and that we have basic law and order. In addition to that, I want to make sure that our water resources are here into the future. Please vote Alexis Martinez Johnson. Thank you.
And now, Joanne Vigil-Koppler.
Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity to be here tonight. I'm very pleased that I have an opportunity to run for your mayor of Santa Fe. My name is Joanne Vigil-Koppler. I'm a city councilor, almost serving 4 years. What I want to tell you is I think Santa Fe deserves better. Santa Fe deserves a strong voice, and I believe I can be that strong voice. I can be that advocate to put the pieces back together for our city. This city that I grew up in, where I was born and raised, and have cared very deeply about. I've seen its history, its culture. I've seen everything about what makes this city beautiful, and I want to keep it that way. So how will I do this? This is how. I bring 25 plus years of experience in successful positions that I've had all over this state. I bring 25 years of managerial leadership, including those in the city of Santa Fe and other local governments, the judiciary, and parts beyond. I bring managerial know-how, financial oversight, respect and professionalism and care and trust for employees at all levels who do the jobs that make this city the greatest city, I think, in the world. That's why I'm still here. That's why I've always been here. So I think that the city manager, the full-time mayor is not a trainee position. I have those skills to lead this city forward. I'm very concerned about financial accountability and trust, and I think I can bring that back. I would like to say that one more thing. I am not against masks, and I know that's being put out there. I question the legislation, which I think is a little bit weak and unenforceable, and is proven with the police citations that have been unable to be issued in the greatest amount that I think we need them to be. I've been taken to the task for that. I have to say, I am not against masks. I said it that night. Let me be clear, I'm not against masks. I want to be your mayor and focus on the important things for this city. Thank you.
Okay, moving on to the first question. The time limit for answering this question will be 2 minutes. And we will begin with Ms. Martinez-Johnson. What will you do to improve the quality of life for all Santa Fe children, including quality schools, clean parks and trails, safety from predators, child family-friendly businesses and activities?
Well, thank you for that question. I am a mother of 4 children, so this question is extremely important to me. I have twins, I have 3-year-olds, I have a 6-year-old and a 9-year-old. They all attend Santo Niño. Their care and the care of the children in the community is one of my main priorities. Sometimes when I walk the children, I do feel unsafe. When there are encampments or I have to step out the sidewalk in order to cross, and I would like to see more police officers assist the community in creating a safe environment. I have to tell you, and this may be disturbing to many, but when I went to go get nominating petitions, I had to go by there on Harrison Street, children to close their eyes so they wouldn't see the individuals shooting up heroin on the side of the street in broad daylight. I did inform police officers of this, and unfortunately, this is not a situation that they can take care of readily. We have around 80,000 plus individuals in the city proper, and beyond that. If we have 8 to 12 officers for 80,000 people, you can imagine 1 officer for 10,000 individuals. I think that based on our budget, you can see for the next fiscal year 2022 that we need to have a basic modicum of safety in this city. As you can see, last year with the toppling of the obelisk, that was a completely unsafe situation. Next week, we will definitely have the anniversary of the Indigenous Day, and many people in the city are now afraid because we do not know if basic civility will be taken care of. I look to fund our police officers so that they can have proper training in non-lethal methods. We've seen a lot of police shootings lately, and I'd like these officers to have some time to recuperate from these very traumatic situations. I think funding our police officers that we currently have with proper training and supplies would do an immense increase in quality of life here for myself and for the children, for everyone else. In addition to that, I would like to recruit more officers. So we need to make sure that we provide enough funding in our budget, which hasn't been to the point that we need. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Vigil-Copper?
Thank you. Quality of life certainly is important to everyone, and it means very different things for very different people. So I think the most important thing for quality of life is making sure that people who live here can have a place that they can afford, and that they don't have to find places to move to that are outside of our city. I think having a place to live where they can afford brings greatest quality of life, because you don't have families moving around from place to place. That is one of the things that I want to work on, is workforce housing, affordable housing. I'm very serious about that. I think it's time the city does that, and I have the experience to do that. I will do that. I am a person who has worked and had many promises that I've made, and I've kept those promises. And I have had a successful career in results-oriented leadership. So where do we go from here? The things that really are important to families are clean water. We need to have our water and wastewater plants working properly. We need to comply with OSHA guidelines. We need to make sure we're meeting EPA standards. That's important. Quality of life, drinking water. We need our parks to be up to date. I think we need our parks to be maintained. We need our grass, our areas where they play ball, our equipment for playgrounds. We need to make sure all of that is in good working order and that it's safe. We need to make sure that we do something about the unfortunate living that some of our residents have, and that is the homeless. Because they do go to our parks. They do what they need to do there, and it results in us having to clean up. We need to have police presence. I'm the one who can recruit. I can help the police fill their 37 vacancies, because until we do that, I don't think we can be as safe as this community needs to be. So I will work with the schools on curriculum so that they can have a chance at jobs in these families. Thank you.
Mr. Witt.
Thank you. Certainly the first responsibility of the mayor and the first responsibility I've embraced as your mayor is public health and safety. And public health and safety are two sides of the same coin. You can't talk about it without acknowledging that we are still living through COVID time. And over the last year and a half, Santa Fe has come together like no city in America to deal with the issues of public health and safety, to make sure that people are housed, fed, they have food, money in their pockets. We put $17.5 million into our community because we responded to the crisis of COVID. We got $17.5 million from the state. That went directly out into our community. $6 million in direct cash assistance to families who would otherwise be really struggling to make ends meet. We put another $7 million with the county into small businesses to try to make sure that people's workplaces were safe and secure. So let's remember we are still in COVID. COVID has touched all of our lives. Beyond that, I think the important part of our agenda has been to look at the issues of what are called social indicators of health. That is housing, food, security, medicine, transportation. And we're addressing that across the board through our Community Services Department, which helps families directly. We have a Connect program where anyone who needs help can get a navigator to help them get the services they need. Finally, just last week, we announced a new partnership with the public schools where anybody who works for the city of Santa Fe can have 4 hours of paid leave to volunteer in our school district to get closer to our young people, to work with them, to support our teachers, and to make sure that we are all working together. It really doesn't matter whether the kids are in school or out of school. They're all our kids, and we are responsible for their future. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question has a time limit of 1 minute. Creating more affordable housing has been on the priority list as long as I can remember. Why is it still such an issue, and what would you suggest we do? Ms. Beadle-Copper?
Thank you very much for the question. I agree. Affordable housing is something we've been talking about forever, and it's time that we do something about it. First of all, we need to get our code changed to accept affordable housing. Our zoning, most of the time, only allows for single-family dwellings, and we need to create a bit of higher density in our zoning to allow for affordable housing. Builders are not going to build affordable housing if there's not a period of a point of return on their investment. They're not rich people necessarily, but they're not going to build if they can't afford to build it. And the only way is through increased density and a good communication program with our city residents that all of us need to pull together. We all need to have that same goal. And that's why we're still talking about it and not doing it. I don't think we've accomplished that yet. And we certainly haven't accomplished the zoning changes that we need to do. I will tackle that. Thank you.
Mr. Weber?
Thank you. Well, affordable housing has been my #1 priority. Affordable housing will continue to be our #1 issue in my next 4 years. We've made great strides. In the last 3.5 years, we permitted almost 2,500 units of new housing. There are 4,000 to 5,000 more units in the pipeline because we're working with all of the partners who can build affordable housing. We are, as I said earlier, $6 million committed into the Affordable Housing Trust Fund to keep people safely housed, and we are using city-owned land so that we can contribute it to developers who will build affordable housing, rental or homeowners, so that everybody who works in Santa Fe can live in Santa Fe. That's our goal. We are on the way to making it happen. We have the resources, we have the partnerships, we have a program that we're fleshing out. The next 4 years, we will make even more progress in building affordable housing for everyone in our community.
Ms. Martinez-Johnson.
Thank you. Everybody wants to be able to live in Santa Fe. We are such a beautiful city. Some people come and move here from afar, and others have been born and raised here. My main issue is with our very important water resources. With such an immense increase in property development, and you hear the words high density, and we're putting a lot of money in there. My main concern is with constraints. As an environmental engineer, I work with constraints and negotiations to make sure that we have water resources going into the future, and that we are not making inequitable situations with areas that have varying socioeconomic levels and various racial makeups. We do not want a city divided, and my main goals would be to make sure that we are cultural stewards, that we are environmental stewards, and that we are project managing from 5 to 10 years into the future. I do not think that developers should get the upper hand. I think that citizens should have input. Thank you.
Thank you. And this next question has a 2-minute limit. What are your ideas for addressing the conflict between development and scarce water? Mr. Weber.
Thank you. That is really the heart of our growth issue. We have to grow gracefully. We need more affordable housing. You just asked about that, and we just talked about it. But we need to be able to do it in a way that is sustainable. The good news is that while much of the West and the Southwest is in drought and is parched, because of the legacy we've inherited from previous administrations and people who really were far-sighted, Santa Fe is the beneficiary of all those investments. We have 5 different sources of water, not one. And the most significant one, of course, is conservation. In 1995, since 1995, the city has grown by 25% in population. Our water use has gone down 33%. If you look at the last 5 years, we've had 14,000 acre-feet of water we could use. We only used 9,000 acre-feet of water. So conservation has made a huge difference in our water future. We are now working toward a water return credit pipeline that will give us even more water use in the future. Currently, we use less than 50% of the water we're entitled to. With the water pipeline, we will use every drop of water we have at our disposal. And ultimately, I believe in the near future, we will be able to reuse water successively. We will use it and reuse it. Finally, I would point out that our water future is in our own hands. We have the power to create a future 40, 80 years out where we have water sustainability. That's why the city, in my administration, has begun those 2 studies, a 40-year study and an 80-year study, so that our children and our grandchildren will be able to live here in affordable housing with sustainable water resources. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Martinez-Johnson.
Thank you. I'm glad we're continuing the conversation in regard to water, because that is an element that is extremely important as we live in this arid environment. As we all know, with the climate heating up and with the certain conditions that we experience here, this is number one. I am very skilled in various technologies in regard to water reuse, and I would look to make sure that Santa Fe continues on a plan where we audit our water intake and usage. and that we are very concerned and concentrate our efforts in making sure that this resource is there. So I would like to work with these developers, making sure all construction is energy efficient, and also these negotiations, they should be just that, a negotiation, where nobody is getting an extreme upper hand. And everywhere I go in Santa Fe, I hear that developers are getting the upper hand. They're getting exemptions. Now, what developer would not want to build in Santa Fe? We have a multitude of people wanting to live here, they vacation here and want to make their home. And so why are these developers getting the other hand? Well, we have administration here that it's in the best interest of them based upon donations or based upon their occupation to increase development. So I would really like to make sure that the community is involved. Do they want to have high density right next to their home where they no longer see the mountains on the south side? I think we need to look at equitability and making sure that they have a view also, and making sure that these children are in environs where they are going to have amenities such as a park, such as a grocery store, but not in the middle of nowhere next to a highway where you have high density and you're not thinking about the follow through. I'm a candidate that not only starts to initiate projects, but I definitely project manage and see the follow through, looking to the long term with safety and children in mind.
Thank you. Right now, the code requires developers to build single-family homes following water conservation measures, energy efficient machines that use water and such. We don't have that requirement for multi-use developments, such as apartments or condo complexes. That doesn't exist, and I believe we need to develop the code to require developers, builders, if you will, to implement new code standards which would require water conservation, water efficiencies in their building. So I would work on that foremost, because that's really important. And when you have many, many families using water in one structure of multi environments, you really could be saving a lot more water than we are. But right now we don't have that standard. Certainly water conservation is important overall. Capturing water in our wells, making sure our wells are well maintained and doing the job that they're supposed to do. Working and making sure our treatment plants are up to efficiency standards and there's no violations there. I serve and was a past chair of the Buckman Direct Diversion Board. That board is one of the best functioning boards I think that we have. They have a great deal of expertise, and so that is something I think is very, very good. It's a major water treatment plant both for Santa Fe County and the city, and a portion of goes to Las Campanas. We certainly need to encourage reuse. We need to make sure our city staff is the most highest talented people we can get so that we can keep accurate records, produce accurate reports about all of these things that we're talking about. And so I think that's really, really important, tracking the water rights that builders bring to the table. I think we could do a little bit better job there because there's a little bit of uncertainty about how those are calculated and recorded. Thank you.
This next question has a 1 minute time limit. I don't know what to think about the tearing down the obelisks, the way the city handled that, and what we should do to resolve the conflict it has created in the community. What do you think we should do? Ms. Martinez Johnson?
It is very important that we continue forward with the basic ethos of respect and love, and I think we need to really focus on those areas. We have a vast history, and I am a reflection of that history. My ancestry is a culmination of the triumvirate, which was the classical approach to individuals that came here. Although we know now that there are so many cultures that represent New Mexico, but my ancestry comes from our Hispanic community, our indigenous community, and the Europeans that traveled here. That is the creation of my family. So I hold those cultural experiences dear. And I think it is very important that we have a mayor that is not just an ally, but a true representative of the community. It is very important to have amor y respeto En esta comunidad, in this pueblo that we have here, the beautiful Santa Fe, we must respect our indigenous community and everyone else with basic law and order. Thank you.
Thank you. I really believe that we need to respect one another's culture, respect our traditions, and respect our history. And it's quite unfortunate that we're here today, but we are here today. I think, we ought to give CHART an opportunity to see what it can produce, but there's still so very many varying opinions. So I think we're going to have to realize that that may not be the answer to everything, but give it some time, the time that we've allowed it, at least as a city council. But ultimately, I think we need to rebuild the obelisk, not necessarily in the same fashion and the same style that it was, and not necessarily even call it an obelisk, but something that restores the traditions of this community. And I think we need to redo the plaques, maybe different wording with how we can recognize the history that was there before, and maybe just be a little bit more respectful in everybody's values. Thank you.
Mr. Weber.
Thank you. I wish we had more than a minute for this issue. We are on a journey toward healing and reconciliation. And it started in 1973 when the City Council voted unanimously to remove the obelisk. It continued under Mayor Koss and under Mayor Gonzalez, who took assessments of our monuments and our statues. And then a year ago, a crowd of people broke the law and toppled the obelisk. Now we are in a moment where we can actually make social progress and racial progress through courageous conversations with each other. We are a community that cares. We are a community that shows respect. We are a community with deep histories that are both painful and glorious. And the CHART process can make it possible for all of us, come together, be proud of our histories, and also use our shared values to build a shared future for our kids and our grandkids.
Clarification? Can I please have a clarification?
Yes, Ms. Martinez.
Thank you very much. 1 minute is such a short amount of time to go into this detail, but I am hearing some responses where perhaps individuals want to go in certain ways, and I support what the people want to do. So I would ask that we go to the City Council and we make sure that the communities now, we ask them what they would like to do. And let's see how this CHART process works. But I think that we need to take it to the community. Instead of outside people that are not from this community here. Subject matter experts are good to have that are here or out of Santa Fe, but I think we need to go to the people in regard to taking it up or removing it.
Well, since we're taking 30 seconds, let me add a little bit too. It is essential that people participate in CHART. And if you don't know about it, go to the city's website. Just go to Santa Fe, City of Santa Fe /CHART. Over 300 people have already done that, signed up and said they want their voices to be heard. More than 150 people volunteered to be the facilitators of these conversations. We are capable, more than any city in America, to have these dialogues, these conversations where everybody's voice is heard, where your past is respected and our future is built together. Thank you.
The League of Women Voters recently did a survey among high school students in Santa Fe, and several questions have come out of that. This is one of them. The time limit for this is 2 minutes. What would your approach be to address the increased amount of drug use and overdoses within our adolescent population? Ms. Beagle-Cochran.
Thank you. I think I know we have a police department who knows a lot more than we know. And I think we need to take advantage of the statistics and things that they know that we don't know. We do know, I know, because I talk to various people, that there is a gang issue in this city. And the gang issue, with gangs, there are drugs, and those people are infiltrating our young kids. That is going on. And I think we need to hear a little bit more about that. So then that's coupled with every other, I guess, addiction that exists in the city, one way or another. And so I believe we have to take a look at, number one, getting the data from the police where we would know exactly what we have at hand. I think we need to work with the centers that help people with addiction. We have many organizations that do that now in one way or another. And we need to see if we can get people to maybe self-identify and bring them to a place where they can make a decision about whether they need help. And you know, it's got to be an organized approach. But that applies to students in our high schools, because the fact that they're in high school doesn't make them insulated from any of this. I mean, they walk our neighborhoods, they drive in our streets, they hang out with friends, and all of that results in what we see today as they grow up too. And so I also think that through the police department and others involved, we need to have a real keen education program developed where, you know, it's more the kind of built around how kids think these days, more at their level. TikTok, I mean, doing things, I don't know, you know, things like that, get to where they are and entice them to be part of the plan.
Thank you. Mr. Weber.
Thank you. This is a very serious issue. It speaks directly to our young people and their health and their well-being. I believe that drug use is a symptom of a deeper problem. And that problem is a sense of a lack of belonging, a sense of a lack of meaning, a sense of a lack of purpose, or adults who care about our young people. I spent the last 3 years as a mentor to a young student out of Santa Fe High. And I can tell you that our young kids are incredibly talented, gifted, and they're also facing challenges that nobody in my generation ever had to deal with. They're finding that social media makes them more alienated, not more connected, and that their choices are much more difficult when it comes to behavioral choices they have to deal with. We need to look at the after effects of COVID as they deal with mental and behavioral health issues. NAMI is one great resource. Mentorship is a great resource. I mentioned earlier the 4 hours per month we're offering our city employees to go into the schools and be assistants, volunteers. Last Sunday we had a meeting on the South Side, community meeting, to talk about young people and their hard choices. We had police, we had youth works, we had the city community health and services department, we had our librarians. The goal is to offer our young people better choices to prove, show, and demonstrate that we care about them. It's in our recreation facilities, it's in our partnerships with the schools, with faith-based groups, with offering them good choices. Last summer, we lost 4 kids to violence. We immediately went to work where the police and many social service agencies sat down with those other kids and said, don't make bad choices. We'll get you a job. 4 of them got jobs with Youth Works. We'll get you a GED. We'll help you find a way forward with better choices. That's the program for our young people.
Thank you. Ms. Martinez Johnson.
Thank you very much. This particular topic is extremely important to me as a mother of 4 children. I am one of those children that was raised by extended family members. So you are looking at an individual who has overcome. So when you talk about substance abuse in families in New Mexico, education is the prime factor to reducing and breaking the cycle of substance abuse in generational homes in New Mexico. My zip code was supposed to determine my upbringing, my outcome, and it didn't, because education, hard work, resilience, and another thing that the city can do is making sure that we have recreation centers that are up to par. Currently, our tennis courts for the underserved communities and groups that go there are atrocious. The children jump over potholes in these tennis courts, and it's sad. We see other areas in town getting various equipment, and you see that the inequity is there. And how do we explain to our children, break these cycles of addiction when we are not providing basic city function, which is to keep those parks clean, to not have graffiti, to not have gang graffiti on the sidewalks, on the slides that they're sliding down. And I do not want to be embarrassed to take my children to these parks so that they can see that. I would also like to see community involvement with our police force. Why does some of our police officers not live in Santa Fe? Maybe we should provide some money so that they can be a part of these communities and live here. I know that there was a program called Homes for Heroes, and I think that we need to make sure that education is key, involving mentorships and involving our recreational centers that are provided by the city, make sure that they are open on the weekends and after hours. Thank you.
Thank you. I just would like to add that I think we need to offer help, a lot more help, figure out a way for single parent families, because many times you have a single parent who works all day, many times their kids may not have a caretaker after school, and so those are the times that they may be a little bit too free. And so, you know, I was a member of Big Brothers Big Sisters. My little sister had no family. And so there are a lot of kids running around without supervision that we need to also help. Thank you.
Mr. Weber.
Thank you. I would give credit to our police department. I was not long ago over on the south side at the Boys and Girls Club, and two of our officers walked up to the kids who were playing basketball there, introduced themselves, and talked just person to person about good choices for young people and how police can be present in a constructive way in their lives. I would also agree with Councilor Vihel-Koppler. Child care is an essential part of what we need to do in the next 4 years, and as your mayor, I am committed to making child care available to every family that needs it in Santa Fe.
This next question also comes from the high school student survey. The time limit is 1 minute. Is it possible to create another facility for the homeless to stay at and remove them from our streets due to dangers of them wandering around? And Mr. Weber.
Thank you. Again, 1 minute will not suffice. We have been on a very strong trajectory to try to help homeless people in our city. 3 years ago, I joined a program, national program called Built for Zero. In 16 or so cities around America, it's actually gotten the homeless population to zero. When COVID hit, we opened up an emergency shelter at Midtown, 60 people safely housed there. We helped buy the Santa Fe Suites Hotel, 60 people safely housed there. Now we have more work to do in addition to those efforts. We need to go out and stop talking about the homeless and do a by name list, so we know who these people are and what their needs are by name. Joe, Steve, Maria, help each individual get housed with the support services they need to get help and to thrive. We're seeing that at Santa Fe Suites. It's working at Midtown. We've got a ways to go, but we're on the right path.
Thank you. Ms. Martinez-Johnson.
Thank you. The right path does not include the current encampments that we have on the streets here in Santa Fe. The drug usage that we have in the wide open with, there's no shame there in regard to, and there's no policing in regard to the displaced individuals. There's thefts, there's a lot of various issues. We definitely need to show these people compassion. Substance abuse, it takes over the entire body, and we need to make sure these individuals have services and get help. There are also fathers and mothers out there, and they need services to get help. Just having housing and that is all is not going to decrease the situation that we have. We need to make a concerted effort to have a pathway. An extreme amount of money investing in Santa Fe as a haven for other individuals to come into the community is where I differ. I think that these individuals should be given dignity, they should be given respect, and they have the capability to overcome. And we should have a pathway, a 90-day pathway. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Vihel-Koppler.
Thank you. You know, there are so many issues that make one homeless, and you can't really determine for any one individual which is the right path. So, you know, we have many organizations that work in our city toward the same goal, and that is to help people find homes, to help them find gainful employment, and to help them get off substance abuse. So these organizations are spread throughout, some of them with city funds. I would like to bring them all together. They're stakeholders in helping us solve these problems, create a case management system to keep track of everyone, to get them to know that there's a place and there's help for them. And by doing a case management system, you can take a great stab of knowing what you have in the city, and until you know what you really have and the treatment modems that they need, then you can begin to help them. But remember, you can only help them if they want the help. And we do have some homeless people who don't want that help, but it is worth a big try to get it resolved.
Thank you. This next question has a 1-minute limit. Plans for development of the Midtown campus seem to have dragged on with no end in sight. What do you think the city should do to get this important project back on track? What would you like to see done with that property? Ms. Martinez-Johnson.
Thank you. I have an innovative solution for that area, and I'd like to see some of our film industry and the cinematographers and mentorships in that area. I know that there's a lot of various individuals that work in the film community that are renting in various areas around town, and I'd like to see that as a hub for all of these individuals that come from out of town, and also making it a situation where we have training for our current youth and residents so that they can get involved in some of these very innovative employments, such as being a director, being an actor. Instead of just being extras, I'd like to see a pathway and a pipeline, and this is an area that a part of town that could be a crucible for instilling various skills within the youth and everyone else that'd like to get involved. So I kind of see it, that approach to it. Also, I'm very concerned with the environmental concerns that we have in that area, and I'd like to make sure that we mitigate any negative impact on the land that we currently have there and work with developers. Thank you.
Ms. V. Hill-Koppler.
Thank you. I do agree with the question. It has dragged on. And if I had my druthers, I would have taken a look at the other two offerers that were left on the table when we selected the KDC outfit. And so, as you know, they dropped out. I think we were on the right path then to get something done. I think we should have gone back to those other two and made a decision about who would be the best one to continue. But what we are doing now is the city is in the part of the development process, the planning and zoning and such. We don't have the capacity there to really speed this up because we have vacancies. The audit showed we're 1.8 million over the budget for that. So in the first 100 days though, I am a true believer in affordable housing. We've talked about it. I think we need to have a plan for getting some affordable housing there. That should be on the table. We're going to get that done. The community engagement has brought forth many other ideas, which I think we should take a great look at.
Thank you. Mr. Weber.
Well, I would be remiss if I didn't say I don't agree with the framing. I think we have had a process that got blown out of the water by COVID, and now we're back on track. What's going on right now really is creating a vision for the future of Midtown. And if we step back and just take a breath, let's admit and acknowledge that Midtown is a priceless gem for our city. It is the new center of Santa Fe, and we can see things happen there that will be remarkable for generations to come, starting with affordable housing, adding digital entertainment, jobs, education, a chance for our kids to have a place to play and go enjoy the arts and culture, places for businesses to thrive. New festivals can take place there. Powwows can take place there. The Native community approached me about a powwow area. It also ought to be a sustainable development so that it is the first green development, totally green development in Santa Fe, and the first post-COVID development that embodies all of our health and safety measures all on that campus.
Thank you. Okay. This next question also comes from the high school student survey, and there is a 2-minute limit. How can you stop gun violence among our teens? and Ms. Vigil-Koppler.
Well, you know, I really think a lot of things stem from education, and that is teaching kids about guns. Why, what are they really? I mean, some of the video games that I've seen, you know, make it look like a fun and games. And I think that if we had some sort of program through community policing, we could have a program where the police go into the schools and teach them about guns. Now, you know, this is a big national issue. I think we should have some gun protection, gun lockup kind of things, teach parents about why that's important, and geez, maybe have some training and go into the schools and talk about having respect for one another and teach them how different families have hardships, and you can't be, you know, just pitting people against people, kids against kids. It's just, you know, showing respect for why it's important that we all respect each other. But guns, I think we need to teach kids that guns are not toys. And I have a sense that maybe because of the media that they play with, there is a sense that maybe guns are toys, and that, you know, you can shoot someone and they'll get right back up. That's not the kind of thing that I think we need to make a differentiation. And kids are so gullible, and I just think there needs to be more parental involvement. You know, I'm not sure, but I do think we need to have the police presence, police education, police going in schools, so that they can be taught that police are friendly people, and maybe they can help. When a child, these are children in high school, when they have questions about what they should be doing, how they should be combating their friends who maybe they know carry guns, you know, if you see something, say something. I think that's a great thing, and I think we need to follow that path.
Thank you. Mr. Weber.
Thank you. I'm going to pick up where I started when we were talking about some of the issues with drug use and kids that are really making bad choices. There is no worse choice to be made than to use a gun and to totally disrupt and potentially destroy your life. And so as your mayor, I take this issue not only seriously, but we've already done work to address it. Last summer, as I said, we lost some of our young kids to gun violence, including one of our most storied athletes, young athletes, whose life was taken far too soon. As soon as that happened, a couple things went into play immediately. First, Chief Padilla went to a program in New York called Don't Shoot to look at ways to disrupt guns, gangs, and drugs. And the answer is to move upstream, not to treat the symptoms, but the basic causes. And that is kids making bad choices. They need to know there are consequences if they make those bad choices. If they put their guns down, we'll help them get a job, get a GED. We'll help them have a better life. We got a group together last summer with the police, with YouthWorks, with faith-based community leaders, and we offered those young men, usually young men, better choices. 4 of them got jobs, put their guns down. We're doing that again now. We're continuing that effort to have an ongoing dialogue with people who could make bad choices, or given an option, they'll make good choices. We have allies here. Miranda Viscoli and New Mexicans Against Gun Violence do go into schools, do work with young people, do offer trigger guards to moms or dads, safes so they can lock up their guns. If they turn in a gun, they turn it into a garden tool, and I've been at those programs to watch that work get done. People get food vouchers and certificates to feed their family rather than having a dangerous gun at home. We have the solutions. We need to work together to implement them.
Thank you. Ms. Martinez-Johnson.
Thank you. I am a gun owner. I have a gun for my own safety and protection, and I also have 4 children. So guns and gun violence is extremely important to me. Why do I have a gun? When I am alone in my home, I want to make sure that I am safe. We saw just last week an elderly man was beaten in his home, and the contents of his safe were taken right here in Santa Fe. I personally could not overcome a male of muscular stature. I would not be able to. If anyone wanted to harm me, like they have done here in Santa Fe. They harmed an elderly man. I would want to be able to protect myself and to protect my children. Our guns are locked, and I would like to make sure that there is redundancy. Not only are we educating children because they are very smart, we make sure that they understand when and how that is used, and also adults need to be educated. You cannot, absolutely not, leave a firearm on the table, and individuals need to be educated on proper usage. We also use firearms to provide food for our family. We have our freezer filled and we eat meat the entire year, deer meat. So hunting is a part of our life, but I would like to make sure that education is supreme when we're talking about having activities in the city where we educate children. If they go to someone's home, they need to understand what a gun looks like, what you do and do not do, and the adults need to understand that they have to be secured. So, and in my home, we use a double redundancy measure. Not only do we put it out of their reach, but we also make sure that if they do reach it, they will not be able to access it. So, education and extracurricular activities for the youth. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Weber.
I was thinking about a presentation that was made at the Lensic about 3 years ago from a fella, Father G from LA, who runs a program called Homeboys Industries, where he takes ex-cons and gives them jobs and helps them get on the right path. The question for our kids is, who will they listen to? Who will they pay attention to? And I was talking to Malin Schuyler the other day from YouthWorks. We need to bring Father G back. We need to have people come back into Santa Fe who have worked with young people and know how to talk to them and get their attention and connect. Ultimately, we want them to listen.
Thank you.
Can I have a clarification?
Yes, Ms. Martinez-Johnson.
I don't think I'll use all the 30 seconds, but I also want to make sure that we utilize our current laws and ordinances that we do have and make sure that those are enforced. Now, we have a red flag gun law currently, but I would like to make sure that we don't have any no-knock warrants. I think that is a very harmful situation, and we've seen in the past how that has definitely caused the loss of life of very innocent individuals. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, this next question has a 2-minute limit. What specific changes are needed within the city's government to address the flaws described in the most recent audit reports? And what resources does the city need to make these happen? Mr. Weber.
Well, I brought the city audit report with me, so I'm glad you asked that question. First thing that people should know about this year's audit is that it is what's called an unmodified opinion. That means that the facts, that the data, the numbers are accurately and fairly represented according to the auditor, and it is the highest ranking you can get in an audit from the city. So the bottom line is that we are enjoying strong financial health. We have a net position. Our revenues exceed our liabilities, and we are in a very strong and unmodified condition. Now, that doesn't mean we don't have things to work on. An audit is not a dirty word. I suppose it's scary if it's the IRS and it's your personal finances, but an audit for the city is a roadmap to do better. Since I became mayor, we've done more than 10 internal audits where we hold up a mirror to ourselves so we can find out things we need to do better. This has 21 findings. From last year, we resolved 8 findings. There are 21 in here. Most of them have to do with 2 categories: federal grants. Federal grants at the airport, federal grants from HUD. 2 very complicated federal agencies that we have to work with in order to meet their stipulated requirements. So the first thing we need to do is manage our federal grants better. That will take care of the vast number of those findings. There are also some interesting findings. One of them says that in order to get do better, We need to have shorter passwords or longer passwords for city employees. Ours are only 8 or 9 characters, should be 14 or 15. I think next year that finding will be taken off the books. So we have a very clean audit, 21 things to work on.
Thank you. Ms. Martinez-Johnson.
Well, the main issues here I wouldn't say are longer passwords. I would say the main issue is turning in a financial document extremely tardy for more than 1 year. So what is going on? That shows inefficiency in your basic government management utilizing your money. This is your taxpayer money. And if we're going to be using your taxpayer money, we're going to make sure that it's on time. Just like each of us pays taxes and it's going to be on time in April, or if you get an extension in October, that's it. And that's the bottom line. I'm an individual that has experience not only in economics, but finance and multi-million-dollar projects, where if we don't get something done, there is a price to pay. And that price to pay is to the consumer, to the person in the citizenry that is utilizing public services. So I would be vehemently opposed to any type of tardiness. And when you're talking about passwords and revenue exceeding liabilities, well, you're going to be asked on your ballot to fund increased projects and increase your property tax. Why are we increasing property tax when we're talking about affordable housing? Why are we increasing property tax when our revenues exceed our liabilities? We need to know way beforehand, not when there's a ballot measure already on the ballot and now we just find out that, oh, our revenues are exceeding our liabilities. Tardiness is a major factor in any type of business. I would make sure that this city government would be run efficiently with the skill and expertise that I bring from my experience as a project manager in environmental engineering and studying the economics to make sure that we have a successful business, that we have a successful city. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Vino-Copper.
Thank you. You know, this is a really serious issue, and I'm very, very concerned. I share the state auditor's concern. He is already on record saying he's concerned about the deficiencies. 2 years in a row of late audit is unacceptable. So if you figure this last audit was due last December. So we are already in October finding out what we did wrong last year, and we haven't corrected what we did last year. So we're still on this path because we didn't know, because our audit was late. And so now we're still cranking along, doing the same thing we were doing before until this came to bear. So now we know. You know, an unmodified audit is not a clean audit. What an unmodified audit is it says this is an accurate record of what was presenting to us, the external auditors. This is unmodified. We agree. You gave us the information. So it's here and it's accurate. But what it's accurate about is 21 findings. And of these, 10 of these are significant and at risk for losing federal funds. We left on the table last year $200,000 in uncollected federal funds because we don't have the processes right. That's what the audit told us. You left on the table $200,000 in federal funds that you didn't collect. Secondly, we repeated 12 findings from the last audit. And so this is really serious. I can't say that enough. And so we're $10.8 million over budget, which is what this audit says. This hasn't been brought to the city council for adjustment, but because we just found out. So when you have late audits, you're really behind in the information, and this money you need to be accountable for. That's what a manager, a mayor is responsible for.
Thank you. Yes?
Needless to say, there's more to be said. First of all, there is such a thing as a qualified opinion. That's a bad audit. We didn't get that. So we should all acknowledge that a finding, an unqualified audit, is a good thing. We came up with a very good audit. Secondly, why was it late? Good question. I hope there's another question about that later. We were faced with a choice. We had 3 months to spend $17.5 million to help the people of Santa Fe get through COVID. CARES Act money came to the city. We had 3 months to spend it or lose it or do the audit. Our finance department chose helping people rather than having an on-time audit. I'd make that choice every time. I would rather spend $17.5 million to help the people of Santa Fe than have an on-time audit. The state auditor said to me, it's better to have an audit that is accurate than one that is on time. So getting an unqualified opinion is something that should give people confidence in their city.
Ms. Vigil-Koppler?
Thank you. You know, I've been in public service a very long time. I have had audits, responsibility for audits. It's out of the question. You just don't do and result in turning in late audits. This is one of the biggest significant announcements to the taxpayers that you aren't managing their money. You're not accounting for their money. And I mean, I've had to present budgets and everything, and this is just taboo. You just don't do this.
Okay. Yes?
Thank you. In every business venture that I've been a part of, working in firms, being in charge of multiple groups and people, we always want to make sure that safety is number one and that we are taking care of people. But parallel to that, we are accountable immediately for the funds that are used to make sure that we can deliver the proper services in a priority fashion. We do not disassociate one from the other. We make sure that the funding is there for our children, and we have to account for it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, this next question has a 30-second time limit. Do you support the sanctuary city status of Santa Fe, or will you have local police seek immigration status of people they encounter and submit that info to ICE federal agents? And Ms. Martinez-Johnson.
Oh, thank you. I was raised by an immigrant from Mexico. He took care of me, an American baby. He paid taxes on me. He wasn't even kin to me. And he showed me what it means to be an American, that value set of hard work, determination, and he has made me the successful woman that I am so that I can be a role model, not only to my children, but I have achieved so much. So I wasn't able to get in there the time limit, but I want to say that we are not going to rip families apart.
Thank you. Ms. Vigil-Koppler.
Yes, I support sanctuary cities. I believe in the values. I believe in being humanistic about how we treat people who come into our state, our city, our nation. I think we have something to offer. No, I would not go after and enforce ICE with all barrels in. I think if there's a legal responsibility for us, should someone who's in this sanctuary city get into trouble, then we would follow the law.
Thank you. Mr. Weber.
I'm committed to Santa Fe being a sanctuary city. It's who we are, it's our values, it's our community, and it's what we stand for. Early on in my time as mayor, I was visited by a family where ICE had pulled the father and kids and mom to the side of the road on the way to school and tried to cart the dad off and deport him. That is unacceptable. And I said so at the time, and I say it now. I went down to the border when President Trump was taking families from each other, and I protested there, and I made my voice heard. We are not that kind of a city, and we never will be.
Thank you. Ms. Martinez-Johnson?
Thank you. Because of my personal story, I wasn't even able to get the answer out quickly enough. But I do support a pathway to citizenship. I believe that we have many job openings, not only in the city, but around not only city government, but in the entire city. We are going to be accepting about 100 Afghan families, is that correct?
100 Afghan individuals. 100
Afghan individuals, and we need to welcome them and make sure that we are as welcoming to them and given the hardships and the very dire consequences that they have been a part of.
Thank you. Mr. Weber?
I want to second that thought about the Afghan refugees who are coming here. We've been working with Lutheran Family Services to welcome them, and we already are a member of Cities for Citizenship. We help our immigrant community become citizens, and I've attended those ceremonies it brings tears to your eyes to see people for the first time becoming American citizens, waving an American flag and expressing their pride in becoming part of the American community. It's a beautiful thing.
Thank you. So we will now move to the 2-minute closing statements by the candidates in reverse order from their opening statements. So beginning with Ms. V. Hill-Koppler.
Thank you very much. Thanks for allowing us and me to express my opinions about the questions you asked. I want to be your next mayor. And I think what I bring to the table is a track record in my experience of promises kept and results-oriented leadership. I have a great deal of experience in this. I have served on the city council. I've taken many organizations to the next level. And so I think we need a mayor who is fiscally accountable, who has a great deal of respect for the money that taxpayers pay into city coffers. And I will be a great steward of those funds, making sure that we get those used efficiently, effectively, to offer good quality of life to anyone who lives here. I also think we need a mayor who, like me, who is fiscally accountable, like I said that will use your money and bring you the things that you value. And what are those things? Those things that I've heard in my council career, where I hear from my friends, family, and so on, things that I think the people value based on what they've said. They want clean and maintained parks. They want smooth streets. They want recreation. They want maintained buildings, maintained recreational facilities, maintained playground equipment. They want clean medians. They want clean neighborhoods without weeds that can be cut and not even have to worry about. But most of all, they want customer service. When I worked at the city of Santa Fe, we had standards for customer service. That is something that bothers many people who talk to me. I think we need to bring that back. I grew up with these values in my city. I grew up here in high schools, in elementary schools. I grew up with these things. I grew up with the clean streets, with parks to play in. I never have seen these issues in my lifetime. I will be the mayor that brings you that. I'm the mayor that Santa Fe needs right now. Thank you.
Ms. Martinez-Johnson.
Thank you very much. This mayorship and the candidate you choose is extremely important. Please put me in your number 1 or your number 2 position. Not only will I be able to reconcile the very extreme discord that we've experienced last year, I can do that. I can go in various communities and make sure that we have a respect and love returned to Santa Fe. I don't think that we can do this with this current administration. Please pick someone that is new, that brings not only experience, but acumen in running city utilities. I have the experience and professional skill to make sure that we have an increase in the quality of life. I am a mother with 4 children. I have a great love for children and a story that is about the 1 or 2%, the very cream of the crop of New Mexico, overcome and achieved. I'd like to be that role model to this city and show you the skills and the acumen and expertise that creates success. I have done this before in the projects that I have been a part of, making sure that safety is number 1. Not only are we going to be safe with our employees and they will be trained, but we're going to have a safe water resource and make sure that we can take this to the next level and be sustainable in this community. In addition to that, we're going to be safe in our person, and we're going to know that when we call the police officers, they will show up, and we will know that none of the beautiful art installations or monuments or anything of that nature is going to come toppling down in broad daylight without basic law and order. We have seen this administration do a great disrespect to this community, and that will not happen again with a mayorship with Alexis Martinez-Johnson. I have a great love and respect for this community, and my door is always open to you. No matter what party you are from, we must walk together and make sure this community creates a better life for each and every one of us. Gracias.
Mr. Weber.
Thank you. Thank you for hosting us and for your questions, and to everyone who submitted a question, thank you for being part of this conversation. I've been honored to serve as your mayor for the last 3.5 years. It's the highest honor I've ever had in my entire life, and I'm very grateful, and I'm very appreciative, and I am asking for another 4 years to act as your mayor. I think we are on a path to a future that is progressive and positive, a future that is inclusive and values everyone in our city. My priorities for the last 3.5 years have been to make Santa Fe the most sustainable city in America, the most family-friendly city in America, and the most customer-friendly city in America. And while the job isn't finished yet, the groundwork has been laid with talented managers, caring people, and a city government that has guided all of us through the most devastating pandemic any of us have ever experienced. Over the last 1.5 years, we've come together as a community unlike and better than any city in America. We have had vaccines provided for people free. We've had testing provided for free. We've had a mask ordinance that kept us safe. We have been able to maintain our sense of our values as a people because we are a family. We look after each other. We care for each other. We are close to each other. We pray with each other. When we lose someone, we cry for each other. That's Santa Fe. That's what makes our community so strong and so healthy. Now we have a chance for an even brighter future. We didn't talk about too much going forward, but there are things that we need to continue to work on, including our kids, making sure they're safe and well educated, including affordable housing so that anybody who works here can live here, including recreation, like a swimming pool on the south side. This is an agenda for the next 4 years, and I ask for your vote to put it into practice and build the Santa Fe we want. Thank you.
That concludes this evening's Mayoral Candidate Forum. Thank you all for your participation. I'm just sorry that due to the nature of this event, the audience can't join me in thanking you and the Santa Fe New Mexican for broadcasting the forum. It will be available for future streaming on the New Mexican's website, www.sfnewmexican.com, and on our website, www.lwvsfc.org. Be sure to make your voice heard in this election by voting, early or absentee, or at the polls on November 2nd. Good night.